This is a well-known stone at Stonehenge called the heel stone. It's outside the circles, a bit further away, and it's sloping over like that. And what's interesting about this stone, there it is at the top there. Now, I've written underneath Heol or Heol, which in Welsh means the sun. And it is known that the Welsh language was spoken here in Stonehenge up until the 11th century. So Welsh today, we imagine Welsh as a language in Wales, but before William the Conqueror arrived, Welsh was spoken all over the south of England. And so when people hear this stone called the heel stone, they think, well, it's the heel stone, it's linked to the heel, but it's actually from the old Welsh language, heol, meaning the sun. You get the same origin in Greek, yeah. From Helen, Helenos means the sun. Yeah, Helios, the sun. Heliopolis in Egypt. Yeah, so that's the ancient word for the sun, and this stone has kept that meaning. So quite obviously it's linked to the sun, but even if it had lost its name, then we would still have known that it was linked to the sun because it's in the axis of the summer solstice seen from the center of the monument. Now beyond that, when you get beyond the heel stone here, there is a long straight thing called the avenue, which is marked into the ground here. And the avenue here is perfectly aligned from the center of the altar stone. Remember that stone in the ground, the altar stone? From the center of the altar stone, you go through the heel stone and straight along the center of that line, and you have the perfect angle of sunrise at summer solstice, the first day of summer, the 21st of June. Now, some years ago, a team of archaeologists opened up the ground here to see what was going on the avenue. Here's the heel stone here, look, with the monument behind it. And this is the line of the summer solstice. And you can see that you have here one part of there's a sort of deep trench like that. And on the other side here, a sort of deep trench. And this is in the chalk. And that's those straight lines that you can see on the previous here, these two straight lines going all the way up there. Those are those two deep trenches which are perfectly straight and perfectly orientated towards summer solstice. And when this was excavated, there was no sign of any digging, of any human tool work of any kind. And so it was decided by the archaeologists who studied this that this was natural. They said it's linked to frost and defrost, the fact that the chalk will freeze and defreeze, and that little by little this creates these sort of cavities. Isn't that strange? That the frost should make this perfectly straight, fantastic avenue exactly along the axis of the sunrise at summer solstice. Yeah, I prefer the idea that fairies did it, really, you know, I mean, sounds more plausible. But anyway, that's the official version because they could not find any trace of human intervention. Or any kind of intervention, really. So that's a mystery of Stonehenge. It's not talked about very much, you know. They don't really talk about that. Now, other monuments around Stonehenge, quite briefly, we have what are called the Barrows, the round barrows. There's one lot up there. They're east-west orientated on an east-west line. And then there's quite a few around Stonehenge. Some of these barrows have funeral remains in them. Some of them have nothing inside. It varies. Here's a photo of a barrow like that. Nice symmetrical tumps. They're very pretty, perfectly circular, like sombreros a bit, you know. And there's Stonehenge in the corner. Now, there are a lot of barrows to the east of Stonehenge called the King's Barrows. God knows why. Here they are. They're lined up here, 1, 2, 3 in a line. They're north-south. And then from here on, they sort of slightly change angle. And these are perfectly to the east of the center of Stonehenge. And is he American or Canadian? I think Mr. Freeman wrote a book about Stonehenge. I think he's Canadian. He came here ever such a lot and did all this observation on how the sun would rise over these barrows and showed how they would use them as very precise sites to get the exact east-west and the equinox, etc. Very, very interesting book. So there they are, the King's Barrows. They are a bit bigger. It's a beautiful spot to visit. Now Stonehenge has been opened. Before, you could only visit the sort of monument itself. And now they've covered over the road. They've closed the road off completely and covered it with grass. And now you can spend the whole day. It's quite a good idea if you go to Stonehenge now, to go there in the morning and spend the whole day. You can walk around all these spots and you can get into the Stonehenge landscape. It's a great improvement on what Stonehenge used to be, which was going into the gift shop. Yeah. Recent work by Birmingham University using non-intrusive electronic material has actually revealed a whole load of new stuff underground, which has not yet been excavated. Incredible forms you can see, concentric circles and spiral shapes, all sorts of different shapes, which can be found. They're under there in the chalk. And so this is a whole new realm of discovery around Stonehenge. Now, there's a very big thing to the north of Stonehenge. Okay, the Stonehenge monument is there. And going right above it to the north is a thing called the cursus. It was called the cursus because I think they thought the people would run along it. You know, the course in Latin it's a cursus, is like a stadium that you would run along. But this is not said to be natural. It's the same kind of thing. It's a flattened piece of land with ditches on either side, and it's quite long like that. So I'll just say a few words about that a bit later. And then there's a thing up here on the right called Woodhenge, and I'll talk about that. That's very, very interesting. But all that remains are the post holes in the ground. Again, that was discovered by a pilot of a plane during a drought in 1926. And then above that is a place called Durrington Walls, which was in the news last year a lot, because with this new ground-penetrating radar stuff, they've discovered, in fact, that there are about 60 massive stones buried under the hill here. So it was known that there had been these massive earthworks. It's incredible. It's an incredible size. I'll show you a photo in a minute. And it was estimated at about 1 million man-hours to have done all this digging and built these massive sort of banks around. And it wasn't really known why it was done. And then recently, with this ground-penetrating radar, they've discovered that there are all these alignments which are actually under the ground, and that they seem to have been covered over like Göbekli Tepe, another site in southeast Turkey, as if certain things had actually been hidden. So that's also very exciting stuff going on here, because you see the size of Stonehenge and the size of Durrington. So, you know, this could be some very big development. This is the sort of site, this is the plan you get on the site, showing the cursors, Durrington walls, Woodhenge, Stonehenge, etc. And the river Avon. Now, Avon in Welsh means river. So River Avon actually means the river. But whatever, the River Avon, here it is. And there's this theory that things went down the river and came up to Stonehenge along the avenue, because the avenue goes straight for a while and then it turns and comes back down to the river here. So there's a lot of theories about what was happening there. This is Woodhenge, seen from the air. And what you can see here, these are concrete posts which have been set into the holes which were found in the ground. When it was excavated and found all these circular holes, which again could go quite deep, and to preserve them and to show exactly the shape, well, they put all these concrete pillars in them, which for the sort of energetic side of the site probably isn't all that good, but for the visual side it enables you to see the circle. Now the outer, these are not circles, in fact these are ovals. They are ellipses or oval shapes. Now the advantage of an oval is that it can be orientated. You can't orientate a circle, but if you just pull it out a bit and make it into an ellipse shape, then it has an axis. It has a long axis and a short axis, and so it has an orientation. And that gives it added information. It means it has another meaning. So these are all oval shapes. I'll show you the plan in a minute. First thing that's interesting to note, if you count the pillars on the outside, there are 60 pillars around a circle or an oval shape. That's very interesting. And all the numbers here are interesting. The numbers that have been left behind were certainly not done just any old how, you know, I mean, this was not left to chance. This was all calculated, and this is information which is transported over the years, over thousands of years. And we'll look into this in a minute. But 60 around a circle, of course, is very interesting. If you have a watch on, you have 60 little things around the circle on it. This is part of Woodhenge during excavations. The big black holes you can see here are the holes of the pillars. So the concrete has been taken out, and those are the holes of the pillars. So you can see they're quite big holes. But you can also see bigger sort of flattened depressions here, like that. And these were spots where there were standing stones. Apparently there were several, about 5 big standing stones, as well as the pillars. Okay. This is Durrington walls. So this is a panoramic view. So you can see this massive bank here coming round here. This is all man-made. So see the size of the trees and the size of the bank, and the bank goes all the way around here, right round there. The road here goes through it, and then it goes on the other side. It goes down to the river and comes back. It is absolutely enormous. It's an incredible piece of work. But of course, it's not spectacular like Stonehenge, and it's private land, or it was private land until recently, so it doesn't get much visit. There's nothing to see, really, and not much to do. But I dare say in the future, if they take this earth away and reveal what's underneath, then that would probably have a lot more visitors. This is the plan made by Birmingham University of this non-intrusive survey. All the red dots are new things that have been found. They're under the ground, okay? The other lumps here, these things, they're all well known, but all the red spots are new sites, which will be examined, I suppose. So that's a presentation then of Stonehenge and what's all around it.